Okay, let's unpack this. What if the scariest monster wasn't hiding out in some, faraway castle?
Right, what if he was already inside, part of the system?
Exactly. Like imagine a Dracula, but instead of being this foreign invader, he's powerful, influential, maybe even someone people look up to.
That's pretty much the core idea we're getting into today.
Yeah, it comes from this Substack article you, our listener, sent over. It's about this apparently forgotten Swedish version of Dracula from 1899.
That's the one, Mörkrets makter. It translates to powers of darkness. And it's fascinating because, as the article points out, it flips the script.
Totally flips it. Instead of the threat coming from outside, it suggests the danger is, well, it's already woven into the fabric of society.
So our mission today is to really explore that idea, understand this different perspective and why it might actually feel relevant right now.
We want to get you the key takeaways quickly, thoroughly, without getting bogged down.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1897. Most people know that one.
Yeah, the Gothic classic. But the article mentions its format, epistolary, right? Diaries, letters.
Exactly. Which can make it feel a bit indirect, maybe fragmented for some readers. Creates mood, definitely, but not a straight line.
Then, just 2 years later, 1899, we get Mörkrets makter. And it's not just a translation.
No, it's a complete reimagining. And get this, it was published in installments in a newspaper.
Which makes it way more accessible, right? Like a weekly serial.
Absolutely. And the big change, the really crucial one, is Dracula himself.
He's not the mysterious count from Transylvania coming to London.
Nope. This guy's an insider, charismatic, politically connected, moving in elite circles in Stockholm.
And the article points out this version kind of ditches the theological debates and the Victorian hand-wringing from Stoker.
Instead, it focuses on things like secret meetings, political rhetoric, power plays.
So where does his power come from then? Is it still, vampire magic?
Well, yes and no. He's still a vampire, but the emphasis shifts. His power seems to grow from the complicity of the people around him.
So it's less about hypnosis and turning to bats.
And more about manipulation, influence, getting powerful people on his side, or maybe them wanting what he offers. Dark deals, maybe?
Less supernatural coercion, more backroom maneuvering.
You could put it that way. And the ending drives this home. Stoker's ends how you'd expect, right?
Yeah, the heroes win, Dracula's destroyed, good triumphs over evil. Pretty clear.
Mörkrets makter. Not so much. The Count of just vanishes.
Vanishes. So he's not defeated.
Nope. And the conspiracy he was part of, it just keeps going. The system stays corrupted. It's way more unsettling.
Yeah.
Ambiguous.
Well, that's chilling.
And the article argues this ending probably resonated deeply in Sweden at that specific time. We need to think about what Sweden was like in 1899.
Right. It wasn't just idyllic countryside. The article describes a country in major transition.
Huge changes. Rapid industrialization crashing against an old social order, a monarchy losing its grip, a powerful aristocracy, but also
a growing working class, socialist ideas bubbling up, lots of tension.
Exactly. So for people living through that, maybe a story about a foreign count threatening London felt a bit distant.
Yeah, their worries were probably closer to home, about their own society, their own leaders, the structures right there in Stockholm.
And Mörkrets makter tapped right into that anxiety. The monster wasn't out there. He was in here.
A smooth operator, using ideology, influence, welcomed by the elites.
It reframes horror, not an external invasion, but an internal rot. A sickness within the system itself.
Okay, so this is where the article makes the leap to today.
Yeah.
To the U.S. in the 2020s.
It draws parallels between those anxieties in 1899, Sweden's suspicion of elites, institutions maybe not working for everyone, and similar feelings you hear in the U.S. now.
You definitely hear those echoes. The article mentions conspiracy theories, doubts about institutions, democratic norms.
But it's careful to say the danger isn't just the theories themselves, but how they might distract from or even mask real shifts, like the erosion of democratic checks and balances or the rise of more authoritarian approaches.
So the Swedish count becomes a kind of symbol for that.
Potentially, yeah. Think about it. Many modern figures seeking power operate very openly, don't they? Rallies, media, slogans.
They're not necessarily hiding in the shadows.
Right. They might be using the tools of the system, even getting elected while consolidating power. The vampire isn't sneaking in through the window. He might be walking in the front door.
And that's the core insight from Mörkrets makter. The article keeps hammering home.
Yeah.
The real horror isn't always the obvious outsider.
It can be the insider. The plausible one. the one who was invited in.
Which really makes you reconsider what horror even means, doesn't it?
It does. Stoker's Dracula is the ultimate other. Foreign, Eastern European, embodying fears about empire, maybe reverse colonization. Defeating him reaffirms the status quo.
But the Swedish count, as the article says, he is civilization, or at least part of it. He looks the part, sounds the part.
And his power, again, comes from those dark deals, the corruption within the system who tangled up in it.
Which means you can't just stake him and be done with it.
Yeah.
Because he is the system, in a way.
And that feels very relevant to how authoritarianism can creep in today. It's not always a sudden takeover.
Often it's more subtle. Using existing institutions, laws, courts, media, tech platforms.
Exactly. Using the language of legitimacy, operating within the rules, but twisting them.
So the article suggests maybe we're conditioned, especially in the U.S., to look for the external enemy.
While the real danger might be more administrative, algorithmic, hidden in plain sight, wrapped in patriotic language.
It's kind of mind-blowing that this Swedish story from 1899 seemed to get that dynamic, how power can just rewrite the rules from the inside.
Making it harder to see, harder to fight. The monster isn't working. He's passing legislation, attending galas.
So why should you, our listener, care about this dusty old Swedish book?
Well, the article makes a strong case. Stories shape our reality, how we understand things. And often, people outside the dominant narrative notice first when things don't add up.
The author mentions their own perspective processing language differently, seeing patterns. And they saw Mörkrets makter not as a weird footnote, but as a relevant map.
A map for today. Think about the usual American story. The external evil, the bad guy we can defeat.
This article says maybe that story is making us miss the internal danger, the slow procedural creep.
Mörkrets makter understood power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers in corridors of power. It's the person no one questions.
The article calls it a choreography of complicity, a ritual of power dressed in civility. Powerful stuff.
Basically, if we keep scanning the horizon for the old-style monster,
we miss the one already in the room, whose horror is strategy, whose violence is institutional, slow burn.
It's less an invasion, more a hollowing out from within.
Which means we need a different kind of awareness.
Yeah.
Right? Paying attention to patterns, trusting our gut, maybe.
Trusting our lived experience, refusing to be told that what we're seeing isn't really happening.
So the article ends on this really striking note. It's not just that Mörkrets makter was ahead of its time.
It's that maybe we are dangerously behind in recognizing the kind of threat it described.
Still looking for the obvious villain, maybe finding comfort in that old Stoker story.
And the article even touches on how proposed solutions sometimes just rearrange the deck chairs. It mentions the science of reading debate.
Right, suggesting that focusing solely on decoding might miss teaching critical thinking about power structures themselves. Who benefits? Who makes the rules?
These architects, the insiders, they look neutral, but they're shaping things while maybe blaming individuals for not having enough grit or something.
Whereas true power, the article suggests, lies elsewhere. In care, in seeing each other, in refusing to be gaslit.
Which leads to the final, pretty provocative question the article leaves us with.
Yeah, it's not about whether we believe in monsters anymore.
It's whether we'll recognize him in time, before the curtain falls again, and this time, maybe we don't make it out.
Wow. Definitely someone to chew on. It's incredible how this obscure Swedish book gives us such a potent way to think about threats today, not from outside, but from inside the systems we trust.
It really forces you to reconsider how you interpret events, how you consume news and narratives.
Yeah. Maybe check out the original Dracula again with this lens. Or, if you're really curious, see if you can find more on Mörkrets makter itself.
It's definitely a perspective worth considering.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been fascinating.
Indeed. Until next time.
Keep questioning, keep thinking.